Hey Chris, it's really good to have you on the channel in this podcast. How you doing?
Living the dream, Shimmy. Thanks for having me.
Nice. That's exactly what I want to hear. So, for everyone that doesn't know who you are, because I'm sure there's millions out there, tell us a little bit about yourself in like a brief overview of you.
The 30-second elevator pitch is I started off pre-med going into college. That didn't last long. And ever since then, I've just been selling a lot of t-shirts. In between now and then, I lived in a house with 12 other e-commerce entrepreneurs where we were building Shopify brands, selling everything from typical drop shipping to print on demand, obviously, and then 3PL products. A couple of the brands that me and my co-founder, built together were Yoga Stay, which was yoga apparel. Started off print on demand, and we started selling yoga mats, equipment, that sort of thing. We ultimately sold that company to Open Store, and then just recently we did that process again on a different brand. And now I work with my wife and business partner. We run an e-commerce print on demand store together, along with make YouTube videos with awesome people like you.
Nice. I love that. So you're currently running one main print on demand brand at the moment,
Correct. Yeah.
and that's on what platform?
On Shopify. All of the brands that I've done have been
Shock horror.
shop. What?
Shock horror. Selling on Shopify.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a crazy concept.
Have you ever tried selling on any other platforms or not
Yeah,
bothered?
I have. I mean, every brand, the biggest brands we had, we always launched them on Etsy and like the other platforms, just because it was like, but that was after the fact. But just because like when people come to your Shopify store, there's some people that just like shopping on those marketplaces, so they would go and search for our brand name like Yoga Stay. So you pick up some sales here and there, but our primary location has always been on Shopify first.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. We all do love Shopify. It's taking off a lot more recently. There's a lot more people talking about it. I think also that's due to Etsy just getting a lot of negative press.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me ask you, what else are you doing besides print on demand? Or is that your only thing? And YouTube, obviously.
Um, yeah, and we're also building a software for print-on-demand sellers, basically like Mid-Journey, but for print-on-demand, which that's going to
Nice.
be going public next month, actually. So we're
Oh,
looking forward to
sick.
that.
Wait, that's going like properly public and everything, like out of beta?
Yep, full-blown launch. We've got the wait list has been patiently waiting for a long time now. We're
Nice.
we're really excited to be finally making it public.
Are you allowed to say what it is, what it's called?
Yeah, you can go sign up and check it out at mysticpod.com. It's just the wait list as of the time of filming this, but like I said, we're gonna be launching next month. And
Nice.
our goal with it really is to build the tool that I wish I had all these years running print on demand companies. We're after working with dozens of designers, making literally thousands of designs, so many different products. That process used to be super drawn out and like very expensive. Now we're able to condense it from like what would have taken weeks and weeks to make a collection of designs, like down to literally a couple of hours. And AI has helped out a lot with that. But if anybody's tried out AI tools, you know that none of them are quite built for print on demand.
Yeah, that's the
So
issue.
that's what we're completely ignoring. Any other kind of seller, we are just here to service print on demand sellers, and
I
that's our goal.
love that. The website is so cool as well.
Well,
Just
thank
having a
you.
little bit of a browse. That's really, really cool. Nice. Okay. And then you've also obviously got a community,
Yep.
free and paid.
Yep, correct. And then
Awesome.
just the like the super long. If anybody feels like listening to a monotone voice for 20 hours, you can check out the free course where I talk all about Shopify and stuff.
Yeah, I do need to teach you how to emote a little bit.
I would love
Um,
that. Yeah, I would love a a lesson from a Brit on how to emote.
that'd be very ironic, put it that way. Um, so before we get into it, because this whole episode is going to be about marketing. I don't know about you, but on my channel, it's like the go-to question in the comments everywhere. Like, we need help marketing. Apparently, everyone's a master of like designs and all that kind of stuff, and it's just the marketing that's the problem. Um, which is fine. I'm okay with that. So I thought a podcast with the marketing expert would make the most sense. So we're going to talk all about marketing. Before we do, I want to just touch upon the hub, the print on demand hub, which is our community. And I want to ask you, because you're part of the hub now, I want to ask you why. Why did you want to join the Print on Demand Hub, become a partner, and get involved as you've gotten? Like, what was your thinking there?
Just because I've really, since I started teaching, after I sold my brands like a couple of years ago, I started getting into content. We have the one brand now, but we had the major exit a couple of years ago, and I got into content, and I really enjoyed teaching. And for a while, I was kind of, maybe you had a similar experience. I was getting a little, I don't know, deterred by, on YouTube, you have to do the YouTube-y stuff, and like, it feels like it kind of gets away from like truly teaching people and
Yeah.
being a part of like communities, and like with the hub, you're able to like truly teach people and like deliver a lot of value. And one, I think it's the format, but two, it's like the people that are there in like a community like the hub, like they're truly there to learn, and like they don't want like the YouTube hacks and stuff. And like that's what I love. I love people that show up looking for an opportunity or like just a vehicle that they can invest themselves into. People that aren't looking for shortcuts or hacks, but they just genuinely want to learn. And that's after talking with you about your group, it seems like you've been doing this for a long time. You build up an audience of people that are genuinely trying to make changes and not just clicking around. And that's what I like. And it also brings in like kind of an interesting different element about focusing on like Etsy and like some of the channels that I haven't done as much on. But yeah, I just love teaching, and it seems like a good fit.
Nice, nice. So for someone who's in the hub, what does that look like in terms of your involvement? Like, will they see your courses? I mean, I know the answers to these questions, but will they see will they do like live calls and courses? Like, what's that going to look like for someone joining?
Yeah, so what it looks like is basically me lending myself for what it's worth, with all of the case studies and like lessons that I've learned from 8 years and over 20 million in sales. But the biggest thing is I'm not like, when you're in the hub or like in learning from me in general, I'm not saying like things you should do. I'm just sharing things that have worked from my own experience. And within the hub, what that looks like is the courses on like, and it's kind of like I have a community as well, and it's kind of broken down in a different way where it's like a lot more step by step and like gradual, like longer term
Yeah,
process, I guess you could view it
slower
as.
process.
Yeah, like more consistent and like, um, and then so aside from the courses where it's like how we run our Facebook ads, how we do our email, how we scale the business, it's also all of the SOPs and templates that like we literally copy paste them out of our business for everybody to use. And then there's the group coaching where you can hop on and ask any questions, pick my brain, that sort of
Nice.
thing.
No. So that's like where a huge amount of value I think is in the coaching calls, all that kind of stuff with you, with me, with anyone, because that's like the one-on-one time basically that they get. I mean, I did a coaching call the other day, and 10 minutes of it, I was just speaking to one of the people on the call about their entire business, and everyone else found it very useful and valuable because they were learning because of this conversation. And that one person, it was like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? This is the best thing ever. And I was like, yeah, it's great, cool. And then, finish with that, we move on to the next person. So I think there's a lot of value in there. But let's move on because, like I said, I want to talk about marketing. That is the main topic for this podcast, and we're going to start with email marketing. But before we start with email marketing, I'm going to plug my laptop in because it's going to die. So 1 second. Okay. All right, fine. So let's talk about marketing. Email marketing more specifically, and we'll move on to the next one afterwards. So what is your take on email marketing? And feel free to be as broad as possible, but focused on print on demand, not just general email marketing.
Broad but focused. Got it. Okay. So within those parameters, we can pretty much go anywhere. But I'll start with my personal, like, what I love it because it's one of those few areas in business where if you invest a certain amount of time, it just, like designs, you have to make designs and you have to continue to invest more and more time into it over time. Ads, you launch the ads, but then you have to check in on them, like update them, launch new ads, that sort of thing. Email, especially with the automations, it's very much like come up, have some really good templates to follow, like we show in the hub, and then you just set them up and they just run. And on our brands, like last year we did, or in the past 12 months, we took a brand from zero to over $1 million in like about 11 months. And about 150 or 160 grand of that was all from our email marketing, which there's
Wow.
zero like ad spend. It's like at the very least 50% net profit. So like $75,000 in take home income just from those emails alone. And that's something that
Wow.
like my wife and I, Meg Haynes, go check out her channel. But she's great. She wrote most of the emails. I just sat there and complained while she wrote them. And we just took like a long weekend where we sat down and locked ourselves away to do literally nothing but emails. And then now they've been running ever since. We haven't really touched them.
So it's like a one-time kind of thing. Like you made the campaigns and you just set them to go out automatically for people. But what about like the emails? Because I obviously get your emails. Of course, I'm a stalker. So what about the emails, like the ones that like just appear on a Friday or Tuesday, just random emails from your brand
Yeah.
that are just like product release or this or that? Are
Yeah.
those broadcasts or have you planned those and they're just automatic?
Yeah, yeah. So there's two different for everybody watching who doesn't know. There's two different types of emails. There's email flows,
Wait,
which
could you do me a favor? Can you turn your mic up a little bit?
can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I can hear. Just it'll be louder. Go on. There's two types of emails.
Two types of emails. One is the flows or automations. Those are the ones that you set them up and they just run for forever. Think like abandoned cart products, like upsells and cross sell flows, like welcome float, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Basically, any customer experience that is going to happen repeatedly over and over again. That's where we have flows for those. And then the second kind is what Chimmy's referring to is like the campaigns or like think like Labor Day sales, like new collection drop, those sort of things. So those are you can schedule those as far you could literally schedule them out for a whole year. But we just have it like systematized down to a point where Meg literally uses like Chat GPT and she just has a prompt that she just plugs in and says like today's whatever, like come up with an email about this, and then she just copy pastes it in. It takes her like literally 3 minutes per email.
Oh wow. So she's sending out those emails like not on the day, but like she's pretty much sending them out as and when.
Yeah, just like once a week or bi-weekly, she'll schedule them out for the next like 1 to 2 weeks.
Oh wow. Okay, that's amazing. So in terms of emails, because I mean we don't teach people to sign up to email straight away. So after setting up your Shopify, you've got your 100 designs, you're running ads. At what point should you use emails? And again, for everyone watching, we use Klaviyo. They work very well with Shopify. So at what point should you start integrating Klaviyo into your store if that's the platform you're going to use?
Yeah, I think the 80/20 principle with email is like your abandoned cart flows, like your post-purchase flows, which Shopify has a couple of those like already pre-built. Like they have the most important ones. So you can get and the reason we don't teach to set up Klaviyo right out of the gate is that it shifts your focus away from what's most important in the very beginning, which is building your brand, making sure you have the right niche, testing product market fit, building your designs, and just full focus should be on that. And then once you've validated and you're like doing consistent sales and you know like okay, this brand works, I'm in a good niche, I can see this going somewhere and I'm not going to like be pivoting at some point, that's the time that it makes sense to invest like the time like like Meg and I did. Invest the long weekend to build out like learn email and then build out all of the flows.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar. I mean, the way I say it to people is like have tunnel vision for the stage that you're at. So when you're making designs, stop worrying about the mock-ups and adding them to the store and all that kind of stuff. Just tunnel vision, focus on creating those designs. When you're making those ads, do the same thing. Because people often like to try and do everything at the same time and then end up doing nothing. So yeah. So is there like I mean, I hate asking about numbers, but like, is there like a number of a sales or a revenue or something before you're like, okay, tick box ticked, I should now do emails, or is it like you just got to gauge based on how you're doing?
It's kind of subjective because the tipping point for each person like validating if they're going to keep moving forward is different. But for us, like we didn't add emails like the email automations to our current brand until we were at like 30 to 40 grand a month. That's just us.
Whoa.
You could start a lot sooner. But we've also been doing like take any of these numbers I take and like just slash off a zero for anybody watching. Like it like any goal is a good goal. Like just pick a number and go towards it. And honestly, getting from zero to $10,000 a month in sales is way harder than getting from 10,000 to 100,000 in sales. Because 0 to 10 is where you're validating product market fit, seeing if you have good designs that people want. once you're at 10,000, you know that you have like the baseline layer, and then it's more or less, it's overly simplified, but it's more or less just turning the dials, like increasing the ad spend, taking the long weekend to set up your email flows, that sort of thing.
Right. Gosh, wow, that's crazy. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought as soon as you start sending traffic to the website, does it not make sense to start capturing those people on your list? Because in your case, $40,000, that's tens of thousands of visitors to your site. That's a lot of missed opportunity of building up that list. Would you not
Yeah,
say?
you can add the email. I'm considering them separate. Like, yeah, set up the email pop-up, just very quick, just let it run. But what I'm saying is don't invest like the 30 hours it's going to take to learn and set up your email flows until you're sure that this is a brand you're going to be going with for like the foreseeable future.
Right,
Because
right,
you
right.
would end
Yes.
up, say, you take the time to set up all the flows while you're still not profitable. One, that's detracting your time from, testing new designs and like the most important thing. So you're going to be torpedoing yourself there. But two, if you get, 3, 6 weeks down the road and you're like, I don't think this niche is working out, I want to pivot, and you already wrote out all your flows, now you have to redo all of those.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So you're still capturing those emails with the pop up, but you're not investing time. Okay. So in terms of building that list, is that how you build the list mainly from the pop up?
Yeah, just the pop up and then people that actually check out.
And you do what, 15% off if you to purchase whatever.
Yeah, 15% off for new customers.
Nice. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then what? As soon as that, and then well, I assume Klaviyo will then segment that list, so people who purchase will then move to another list within Klaviyo, and they know what they're doing with all of that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to set that up in Klaviyo, like the different lists and segments, but yeah, that's a big part of it, is
Yeah, and that's what
segmenting
you'll
people
do.
effectively.
Yeah, that's what you'll do later on. Okay, so I mean, in my mind, that's kind of like email marketing on a very simple level down to a T. Would you say that there's other elements, other tips or tricks around email marketing before we move on to the next form of marketing?
Yeah, just real quick, a very simple way, and this applies to whatever next form of marketing we're about to chat about, is think of your business not as like an online store. Think of it as a brick and mortar store, and as if every customer who walked in was like a physical person coming in. It helps just demystify like what you're actually working towards. Like you're literally just talking to people, and your email marketing is like, imagine if somebody walked into your store and then they left. If you were able to send that person a letter that they would find in their mailbox, what would you want that letter to say to get them to come back into your shop? That's literally all that email marketing is.
Yeah,
It's just
basically
an
humanize it as much
online
as you
version of
can.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so moving on then, the next thing I want to talk about, the next form of marketing, and I'm going in a random order here to help with retention for this video, is Google marketing.
YouTube stuff.
YouTube stuff. What can I say? So with Google marketing, I know that's very different to Facebook and TikTok and all the other kinds. When should someone start using Google? Is it like the email after you've hit a certain number, or should it be from day one?
Yeah, we just use Google as a glorified paid SEO. So whenever we launch a new brand, like History Tees, for example, which you guys can go check it out, historytees.com. It's the most recent brand that we sold to Open Store. That one, if you type it in on Google, you're going to see, most likely, you're going to see the top result is going to be a sponsored post that says History Tees. And that's the majority of the Google ad spend that we're putting out, is to get back in front of people that are searching for our brand keyword.
Right. So it's not. It's your Google ads are retargeting ads. Then you're not actually running like cold traffic ads on Google.
Yeah, it's just and it's to give people some tangible takeaways. It's called the Google Performance Max is one campaign, and then Google Shopping, and then what's it? The search. Which search I think now basically Performance Max, they bundled together all their different ad types into one, so it makes it super easy to run. But yeah, it's predominantly based off of the web traffic.
Okay. So how come you don't want to run any cold traffic, like people searching for funny history T-shirts, and then you pop up?
You can. I just am a big proponent of focus on one main traffic channel and get really good at that before expanding to other ones. So I've certainly tried. I've had that thought with like Etsy, Pinterest, or not Etsy, TikTok, Pinterest, like pretty much every traffic X or Twitter, pretty much every traffic channel I've experimented with running paid ads and like tried to get it to bump Facebook out of the top spot, but Facebook just always outperforms.
Prevails. Yeah, so Google's looked at more of a retargeting ad to capture customers who know who we are. They just want to find us, and then okay. So
and just to clarify, that's been my experience. I'm sure if there's some Google Ads expert watching this, like they could view it as like their primary traffic channel and have success with that. So like this is just from my experience, where I've placed my focus.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the best way to do all of this because, and I feel like I'm very similar. And what I've noticed is a lot of people actually say this. They say, "Shimmy, I watch you and I watch Chris. You're the only two people I watch now." I'm like,
Oh,
great, thank you. Why? And then they're like, because I feel like everyone else's advice is speculatory, and your advice is, whether it's helpful or not helpful, it's just based on your experience. And I think that really shows because, you could have given me a long-winded answer just then about Google, because you probably do have a lot of experience with Google to the point where you could BS quite a good answer, and I'll be like, yeah, cool. And everyone will be like, great, right? But deep down, that's just, I don't do it, so what's the point of me projecting it, basically? And I think that really, really shows, because a lot of people reach out and a lot of people say, I like the transparent approach. I like that you just talk about what works for you, and, I'll give it a go and see if it works for me, but it might not. It doesn't mean one thing's better than the other. Like I know a few Google experts and TikTok experts where they would say, forget Facebook. I'm getting an 8 ROAS on TikTok. Go for TikTok. And I'm like, you're a master of TikTok. That's great. It's your go-to thing. That's what you found. So with you specifically, you're using Google as retargeting, Facebook as your main cold traffic source. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. With Google marketing, though, again, similar to email, even though it's a simple setup of just retargeting and people searching for you, you still don't set that up straight away, right? You wait a little bit.
Yeah, I would wait a little bit. And there's two different answers here. It's like, what do I do right now? Like me, I set it up because it's mostly like a time and a skill thing. Like, and somebody who's brand new, just starting out, I just want to make the main point come across. You can build a great business off of literally just an awesome collection of designs. That's always going to be king. That's going to be the constant. Awesome set of designs, Shopify store, Facebook ads, like just Shopify automation emails. You can make a really solid business. Then all these other things that we're talking around, like these are just auxiliary things that certainly help. But in the beginning, the biggest thing to be focusing on is just you learning and not getting shiny object around with all these other little things. But me now, I do set it up within like the first, I don't know, couple weeks, just because it's so fast for me to do it now.
Yeah.
But also the first like 1 or 2 stores that we ran, we didn't run any Google ads. We did hardly any email marketing. And those stores did millions of dollars in sales, which was, in hindsight, we're like, wow, that's awesome how much money we left on the table with that. That was really, really smart of us. But I wouldn't set it up until same thing as email. I would have like the same trigger point for that is after you decide you're actually going to go all in on that brand.
I think that's a really important takeaway as well, because what you just said there is a big deal in the sense that you have done this for 8 years. So you setting up a Shopify store is not the same as a random Joe Blogs setting up their store for the first time. So and people actually say this to me, because when we set up our store, I had the 100 designs done in less than a week, just over a week. And then when I set the whole email stuff up, I just wanted everything to be done. And it may have come across as, no, you're doing too much. But it's different when it's not the first time you're doing it. For you to go and set up the email campaigns for a new store, it doesn't take you 30 hours anymore. You've got a lot of the templates, you know how to do it, and you're also able to gauge what's going to work and what's not going to work. So it makes more sense for you to do that. But yeah, for someone who is just starting out, especially from scratch, or even not from scratch, but like maybe they have print on demand experience in the past, but they don't have Shopify experience or like really building a brand experience, then yes, it makes sense to take it one step at a time, get really good at each step, rather than try and do all the steps. Even though we might be doing more of the steps in one go, it's all just because of the experience of doing it for, however many years we've been doing it for. So yeah, and I think that's a very important takeaway, because so many people just try and do too much at once. And then let's talk about Facebook, because we know this is the big one. I know this is your major platform. So, what is your opinion on Facebook? Because I get sometimes people asking me, we don't recommend using like relying on Etsy or Amazon because you can get banned or suspended, or you can get shut down. So build your own Shopify store where you can't get shut down and advertise on Facebook. But then on Facebook, you're a whim to Facebook. So what's your like opinion
Yeah.
on doing
Yeah, I
that?
really want to hammer. I'm glad you asked. I really want to hammer this point home because the difference between selling on Etsy versus Shopify is fundamentally different in terms of like what you're talking about, which is like the risk of getting banned and like what happens to your business after a ban. The main difference is like who controls the cash flow. Like Etsy, they literally control your cash flow. Like you are beholden to Etsy. On Shopify, Shopify is a glorified like HTML like Lego block builder basically. It is literally just like a platform to build your own website, but it is your website. It's a brick and mortar store. Now, Facebook is like you paying for billboards on a highway to try to get people to peel off the highway to come to your store. If you get banned by that billboard company, yes, it's annoying, but there's still other ways to get to your to get them to come to your store. Whereas on Etsy, Etsy's like a mall and you're just a shop within there. And the way that you get traffic is from people walking through the mall that are already there shopping for other stuff. If you get banned on Etsy, it's as if like the owner of the mall comes up to you and like pulls down the shutters and completely shuts down your business. So in one, you're like completely gone and just back to ground zero. On the other hand, you still have your business, and this has happened to me numerous times. Hasn't happened as much in the recent history because Facebook's got more lenient. But anytime you get banned by Facebook, you still have your business. You still have your email list, which is another reason why it's so important. But you can get up other traffic channels, one of which being there's other ways to get new Facebook accounts running.
Right, and of course you can also appeal. I mean, when I started, when I created that new Facebook account for the new brand, it got shut down within the first week, and then I appealed, and they're like, "Yeah, it shouldn't have got shut down." And at the end of the day, we're selling T-shirts, so I fully understand if you're selling info products or I don't know something dodgy, it will get shut down. And it's harder to appeal. But when you really do email and you say, "I'm selling T-shirts with funny jokes on them, give
Yeah.
my account back," they're like, "Oh, yeah." Don't know why we even banned it here. And that's been my experience, anyways, in terms of getting an account back. It was because I've had accounts banned in the past as well. And that's when I was selling, like we were sending people to like our Amazon course and that kind of stuff. And Facebook really hated that kind of stuff. And when it came to appeal, it was like, no, we just don't want it. But this
Yeah.
time, it was just such a different story. It was like, I'm literally just selling a T-shirt. Like, what? And they're like, yeah, that it does make sense. That's not a problem. And they just gave it back. So I think with that sense, it's a lot easier. And then also, like you're saying, if you do get banned, you've got other channels. You can make Facebook again. You've got Google. You've got TikTok. And this is the beauty of it. We aren't saying that Facebook is the best. We're saying that because you use Facebook and it's your main one, it's the one you talk about. But equally, if you put the same amount of effort into TikTok and learn TikTok advertising, that could be your go-to. It's just where you've decided to put your effort into, which is why you talk about Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
and
not
I
like,
think the thing that can be confusing, especially as a beginner, is that as you're like stepping into this world and learning all these new things, everything, like all the different options and opportunities, they all feel like the same size. They all feel like they're held equal, and it's so tough to tell like should I go for this one? Should I go for Facebook ads or should I go for TikTok ads or should I go for Pinterest or should I go for Etsy? And they all feel like they're about the same size and like then to try to figure out which one's best, you're watching videos like these. What I would say is like in my experience, it's going to be different than the next guy. But what I can say is like Facebook does well for just about every product, but and TikTok does well for other stuff. But more than anything, just pick one channel and get really good at it. And just do that one channel until you get good at it and do nothing else. At the same time, though, keeping in mind that your what's the saying? Like great products can be sold by bad advertising, but terrible products can't be sold by great advertising. Basically,
right.
the point of the story is your design, if in print on demand specifically, your designs and the quality of the products that you're putting out into the world, that is the primary driver. On every single, I've done well over a dozen brands, and a lot of them in the beginning failed. And even though we were doing basically the same marketing strategies, same emails, same literally everything, everything else held constant except for the product and the designs that we were selling. It would be like one brand we launch it and test, and it'd be at like a 1.2 ROAS. Next one, literally same marketing strategy, same everything, just swapped out products and landing page. It would be at like a low 3 ROAS. Like night and day difference, all just made by the product.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've said this in a few videos. I've said it if you if you picture like a rope, and on the rope there are checkpoints. Like you got the niche, the design, the store, the marketing. The last one is the marketing. If you get anything wrong and the rope cuts, you're never going to get to the marketing. You're never going to get there. You've got to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, and that's one thing that like I like to talk about a lot, because some people come to me and they're like I'm not getting any sales. I mean, yesterday someone said they spent hundreds of dollars on ads. I was like, how many products do you have? He said, I have 15. I was like, okay, so that's the first mistake. I can't see what your 15 products are, but you know, if they're not good, that's your second mistake. And then your store, it's your third mistake. So it's like you've got to tick the boxes before you start spending a whole load of money on ads. Because the idea here, everyone's like, how quickly can I make money? And the truth is, if you've set everything up, however long that takes, as soon as you start those ads, you should start seeing a return on your investment pretty quickly. You know, you don't want to be spending hundreds of dollars on ads and not get any sales, because something is wrong there. You've got to fix something. So if you've ticked all the boxes, you've got your however many designs, you've got your store, you've got your mock-ups, everything is good, and then you start your ads, you could run ads from day one and start seeing sales day two, or even day one for that matter. There's no reason why not. And then you slowly find winners and you scale up. It's not like I need to be running Facebook ads for 3 months, spending $100 a day, and then I'll find and then it will start working.
Yeah,
No.
and that's a misconception that I notice amongst a lot of people who are getting started, is that they have this like they really want this to work, and they're committed to it, and for whatever reason, whether it's what they've been told from previous gurus or whoever, that you have to spend money to make money, and when they start spending on the ads, they like conflate that with like what effective advertising is, and they think like, okay, like if I'm really committed to this, this is painful seeing this much money being spent every day and no sales come in, but like I got to spend money. And then that's where you end up with somebody who like comes back a month later and they're like, I spent $1,500 on engagement ads, like now what? And you're just like, no, like I wish you would have talked to me 29 days ago. Yeah, so basically for anybody listening, be completely okay with pausing your ads. I would prefer if you did that, because when you pause the ads, you can then look at the data and learn. And if you don't know what that means, like go watch videos on like Facebook metrics. That's one of the most important skills to learn, because bringing it back to the people on the other side, it tells you how the audience is reacting to the things you're putting out in the world, and that's the whole game.
Nice. Well, actually, I was going to follow up with, when you are looking at an ad, paused or not paused, what does a winning ad look like? Does a winning ad mean there are sales, or does a winning ad mean it's a good CPC or a good ROAS? Like when you're doing your analysis of your ads, what does a winning ad look like to you?
Cheap cost per click, 50 to 75 cents. Cost per link click.
Cost per link click. And then and what about the conversion rate of the actual ad?
So the conversion, this is where it gets into like looking at the whole funnel. If I see an ad that has 50-cent cost per link click, that tells me, and we're not talking about one click. We're talking about like at the very least dozens, and it's purchase optimized. You can optimize a campaign for traffic and get like 10-cent link clicks. That doesn't count. We want purchase optimized US traffic. This varies by nation and targeting, but open targeting US purchase optimized, 50 to 75 cent cost per link click. If we're at 50 cents, that tells us that everything in the ad that the person's seeing, it is good enough that they are interested in the product, they're interested in the niche, they're interested in the brand, like they're interested in a lot of it. Then the conversion rate, that's the site's problem. So if we're getting really cheap traffic consistently, but then nobody's buying on the site, there's a disconnect there. And it's not the fault of the ad necessarily, unless something that we didn't mention is messed up. But that's like an outlier case. It's like 1%. Like one guy, he had in our community, he had a t-shirt design. It was like something anime, and it was like a video game character. It was like a female, and he was like getting insanely cheap link clicks, and he was like, nobody's buying. And then when we looked at it, we were like, oh, people are just clicking because they like the picture of the girl, not necessarily because they actually want to buy the shirt. So that's what I'm saying. That's an outlier. But 9 times out of 10, 50-cent link clicks means we want to look at the store if it's not converting. And
Right.
that just comes down to like checking all the boxes, making sure we have color isolation, that sort of thing.
Right, that makes sense. And in terms of like so if you got the scenario, you spent $25, 50-cent link clicks, but you've got no sales, the ROAS is zero effectively. Would you be like, I'm going to keep this going for a couple more days, the ad's just learning, it will figure itself out? Or are you like, nah, this is dead? Because if you think about it, I think a really big thing here is people make a t-shirt design, it could take them however long, and they make an ad and it doesn't get any sales, and then it's like, well, is that t-shirt just gone? Should I just remove it? Is it dead in the water? Or is it like, no, it just didn't work, like in this ad or something? I don't know. Like, what would you say in that scenario?
So in the scenario of if I had just spent $25 and had 50-cent link clicks but no purchases,
Yeah.
I would just continue. I mean, we had this on the demo store we did for the course. We had like that scenario a lot, and it just came down to like just making new designs consistently, like literally all the time. Like every time I would check the ads, I would like see which designs were getting the cheapest clicks, and I would shout to Meg in the other room, say, "Hey Meg, like design 3, 7, and 12 did really well. Can we make more like those?" And she'd be like on it, and then she would send it back to me, and I would have them like up and launched like same or next night. So just that iteration, I don't think people quite recognize like the importance of that. And
You're like removing t-shirts and adding new t-shirts. Like if a t-shirt doesn't get sales, it's dead in the water. You just give it up and you move on to the next t-shirt. Is that how it is?
we keep all of them on the site, to be clear. Like every shirt stays on the site. We just do, and this again, this is our strategy. There's lots of different ways to win, but this is what's worked for us across 8 different brands. All in one collection in the beginning. Just test as many different varieties and angles, like history. We tried doing some that was like blueprint art, some that was like U.S. history, some that was historical figures. We want to have a wide variety of our initial batch of designs. Then we want to test all of those in the ads. And the ads in the beginning is literally just, we're not even trying to get sales right out of the gate. We are just trying to get feedback on which direction that we tried is the right one for us to expand into. So we started off with 100 designs that were like 5 of these, 10 of those. We tried to find, okay, this group of 10, this is what we should turn the entire collection into. And that's like really, I know this is like an ad question, but it really is like a product question, because we've and this comes back to us, I guess, in particular. Like we've already isolated, like we know what ad copy works. We know what headlines work. We know what like super simple, like we've isolated so many variables that at this point we just test for the designs.
Right. So it's a lot of this is about the designs, being able to churn out new designs, not falling in love with the designs that you have got, and being able to be like, right, that's it. Because sometimes we'll get an ad that completely flops. So we stop the ad. We're like, all right, this t-shirt's dead in the water. It's not going to get any sales. We stop the ad. And then that t-shirt ends up getting a whole load of sales just because someone's browsing on our website. There's no ads running to it anymore. And then we're like, oh, shit, let's run more ads to it again, because clearly people do like that t-shirt. And then back to, no, it's not getting anything from the ad, but it seems to be getting from organic when someone just lands on our website. It's a weird one.
And Facebook's like, that's just the nature of paid advertising. Like it's finicky. It's never going to be like, okay, we tested this one. Oh, it did well. And then it's just like, okay, nice. And it's just straight climb to the top. It's always going to be like, oh, it did okay. Nice. Like, okay, it jumped off a cliff. Okay, now we're back up. Wow, now it went like, now we're scaling. Okay, now it's back in the dump. Like that happens a lot, especially in the beginning, because it's about like how solid is the foundation that you built. Like how many designs do you have? How many different tools being like ad creative and different products are you giving to Facebook to be able to market with? And so like if you just have one really good design, that's good, but we really want to be optimizing towards having a really good collection. So we are not just giving Facebook one winning design, we're giving it dozens, if not hundreds, to be choosing from.
Right. And this is actually an interesting one, because you're running all those ads at the same time. So me and Lauren have actually started trying something a little bit new, where you can have 16, well, you can have more, but you can have 16 designs on a page in Shopify, right? That's typically what people have. And they have like multiple pages, like 10 pages of designs. And what I've actually found, interestingly, is when we run ads, it's not actually a fair test, because if we're running ads and we're advertising all of our designs to see which ones are winners, obviously some of those designs are going to be on page 5, 6, or 7. And when someone comes to our website and they've got to scroll through to find it, they end up actually not converting so well. So, I mean, feel free as the expert, tell me this is all wrong. But what we've actually been testing is doing ads at 12 to 16 at a time. And I say 12 because we tend to keep 4 on our first page, our 4 biggest winners. We always try and keep on, regardless of what ad is going. And then we test the other remaining 12 designs on that first page. And then when 5 or 6 days have gone past and we've determined if there are any winners, we then advertise the next 12 and we put those next 12 on the first page. We just sort manually. And that way we're giving every ad a fair and equal test for someone to land on the website, immediately see the design, and then decide if they want to add it to their basket rather than have to flip. And also, as well, it's a great way to manage money because you're not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars advertising tons of different designs. You're advertising 12 at a time, and you're basically able to be like, 12 didn't work, right, next 12. Okay, one of those 12 worked, going to keep it on the first page. Great, next 12. And then you slowly whittle it down until you have a solid, couple, 12, 24-ish designs that are doing well. That's what we found anyway, because we looked at our analysis and we just saw a lot of the designs that were getting a lot of cheap clicks on Facebook, but not doing much, ended up being on very low pages. So we're like, well, this is not really fair. So that's why we went to that route. But again, feel free to tell me that's a silly idea.
It's a silly idea. No, it's fine. It makes sense. I would just say to use advantage when you're trying to test a ton of designs. My favorite way to do that nowadays is just with dynamic ads, because it automatically cycles through all of them and it sends them direct to the product page.
Right, which makes most sense. That's having like a catalog ad going and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and a gauge that I use nowadays is like the percentages of my time, how it's being spent on the business. And for a beginner, your time should not be... A big mistake I made was that I spent 90% of my time making products in the beginning. Then once I launched, that switched from 90% product to 10% product, 90% of my time just staring at Ads Manager, just tinkering with stuff. And I love doing that. And I did a really good job of convincing myself that that was the best use of my time when it could not have been further from the truth. My time should have been flipped back. Should have been 90% product, 10% ads. So basically, just for anybody watching, anytime you find yourself like overly optimizing something, like just zoom back out to the 10,000 foot view and ask yourself, what is the problem that I'm currently trying to solve, and is the way that I'm going about it the best and most effective way? And with something like that, like basically what you're describing is like, how do we efficiently and easily test a large quantity of products? And the dynamic does do that for you, and it takes, like, not exaggerating, like 90 seconds to launch one.
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense. We've got that going as well. That does make a lot of sense. And then based on the dynamic, you'll run static ads to those pages. Well, you'll put them higher up in the collection anyways. Quickly, I want to ask you, because obviously the weekend is the biggest of time to get sales. We get most of our sales then. I think you do too. When you're running new ads, when you're trying to create new ads, and you say you'll get a design, you upload it, and it'll be good to go the next day. Do you typically only launch ads over the weekend, or would you happily launch an ad on a Tuesday or Wednesday, or do you think it's not a fair test to do that?
Yeah. Well, to back up what you first said, yeah, like Friday, even like Thursday through Sunday are by far our best ad days. I don't really launch them on Mondays or Tuesdays. And the only days I increase the budgets by 15 to 20% every 2 to 3 days, but only like basically every day besides Monday and Tuesday.
Interesting. That's funny because actually we've had some a couple of weeks ago or months, a while ago, not so long, but Mondays were actually like one of our biggest days, and we had no idea why. Like bigger than Saturday, bigger than Friday, and I was just like, what the hell is going on Monday that people want to be buying our t-shirts?
Yeah, but also, was it like early Monday morning? Because like if you're advertising to the US, your Monday morning is our Sunday night.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I will check. I don't actually know. I just looked at it as Monday as a whole. But that is a very good point.
There's like time zones.
And like what are these time zones? Talk to me about time zones.
You're in a. We'll do a whole separate podcast on that.
Yeah, because time zones like are we not? Is it not 6:20 for you right now?
No, it is. Yeah, that's confusing.
Okay, fine. So yeah, the world's flat. What do you mean? It's all the same time.
We're really
Anyway,
covering some good ground here.
anyway, okay. Let's forget the sarcastic humor because I'm a Brit. I'm gonna beat you when it comes to sarcastic humor. I was born in sarcastic humor. Um, I want to ask you about moving on from Facebook because I feel like we've really discussed a lot with Facebook, email, and Google, which is like the three pillars I think to your approach when it comes to a successful Shopify store, when it comes to selling it. That's what you've got set up. But I want to talk to you about social media as well because I've seen, obviously, I know what your stores are, so I've seen them and I've seen they've got social media presences. Is that Instagram presence solely due to the fact that you have the Facebook and it's just one and the same?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't, like, what is your take when it comes to social media, Instagram,
I
TikTok?
the only effort that I put into it, and again, this is our strategy. There's other people that do very well with like posting a ton of TikTok organic content. Ours, because we're primarily paid marketing strategy, the sole purpose of our Facebook and Instagram like social accounts is just to provide enough credibility and social proof so that when somebody gets hit with one of our ads, they happen to click on the page to check us out, they see stuff there that shows that we're a legitimate brand and we're not just an empty like shell of a company.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Well, I'll tell you what, because we're coming towards the end now. So just teasing the next podcast. We've got another one of these planned where we're going to be talking all about brand. And to tease it a little bit, what's your take on social media being an important part of going down the brand route? So of course we can build on Shopify, we can get all the emails, we can do all of that. But if we're trying to build a brand here, that's I don't want to say a household name because that's very difficult to get to, but like an actual brand that has millions of followers, similar to like how Gymshark started and now it's worth $1 billion and it's this huge global brand. Do you think if someone wants to take their print-on-demand business, and I say print-on-demand loosely because I mean their brand business, using print-on-demand as their catalyst, if they want to take that to the next level, do you think building a following of some sort is a very important step? Or are you just like, nah, I don't care?
Yeah, it's important at a certain point, but like it's a what I would say about brand, like it's a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot. I think building any business as if you're going to build like a long-term brand is the right approach, but just everyone should know that like it's a long, long process. Like it's like Nike did not become Nike overnight. Like everybody knows that. Gymshark did not become Gymshark overnight. There were years and years of them like hand fulfilling orders, nobody knowing who they are. Like there's that process. And on History Tees, we ran it for 2 years, and it did millions in sales, and it was only just like starting to become like a recognized brand. Like and that's even still like a very general way of putting it. What I would say is like much more attainable for people to shoot for is delivering an amazing customer experience, like delivering great products, truly caring about the customer, which these sound like trivial, like throwaway things like, oh yeah, of course, but like genuinely implementing them in the business. Like for example, on History Tees, we personally handled all the customer service, didn't outsource it like for the entire time. Very unscalable, but people loved it. And that gets, because the main purpose of brand is one, to increase the value that you're able to charge for products that are cheaper. Like that people pay more for, if this t-shirt had a Nike swoosh on it, I would have paid double or whatever. Like
Right.
that's brand. And then the other thing is like the association with it. Like when they see that name, what pops into their head. And so with History Tees, we knew we wanted people to think great customer service, really unique, funny t-shirts, and like spreading, like our mission was like educating the world on history, like one t-shirt at a time. Like thinking about those are the main things. And it just takes a long time to really get that into people.
Yeah, I think the same as well. Like building a brand, it's not an overnight thing. I mean, this YouTube channel I've been doing for 8 years. It takes a long time, and all the brands that we know, we think of them as overnight successes. Like whatever the brand is, Apple or Abercrombie, whatever the brands are, we just know them. So we think, oh, okay, yeah, they're just whatever. They built them and they just became famous. All these brands, but we don't actually know how hard it was for them to get there, how much money they spent on brand awareness marketing campaigns, which we're not doing any of. So it's like, how is a nobody kind of brand on Shopify going to get mass appeal without spending millions and millions of dollars to do so? So yeah, it's definitely a very, very long game. The reason why I think it it can be valuable is, let's say you kept History Teas for 10 more years or something, whatever.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
Yeah, and you started building the brand with it as well. The when I say brand, I mean the following. And let's say you ended up selling the store with a following of 1 million people. That would have added a huge amount of value to that price, because you're not just selling a store, you're now selling a recognized brand.
No, I see what you're getting at. It wouldn't that directly would not impact the multiple you would get, but because it wouldn't be like, oh, 1 million followers, that adds like zero point 0.2 to your multiple. Where it would show up is in like your bottom line, like EBITDA, like your net profit margin at the end of the day, and like your returning customer rate. Like those would be like lifetime value of a customer. Those metrics would be impacted indirectly by having a larger following, but it
which
wouldn't
would
be
affect
like,
the sales.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
yeah,
indirectly, it would probably affect the value of your company. But then again, if you've got 1 million followers, you're also going to be making significantly more money, which of course would affect your multiple. So it kind of like is a snowball in a way. Obviously, everything helps. But yeah, building a brand is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to do if you're going to go down the social organic route without paying, because it can take months and months, and the market is flooded with brands. And I mean, I say brands loosely as well, because what is a brand? A brand is just a name that someone puts out there. It doesn't, like, I mean, like a recognized brand.
yeah. What I could say, like the most tangible example of brand, like the value of a brand within History Teas, was that after like, I don't know, like 12-ish months, 9 to 12 months of running it, we started being able to send out emails. Like we had over delivered customer experience. Anytime somebody, like someone just said boo, we would give them a refund. People love the quality. Everything was as good as it could be, in our opinion. And because of that, at 9 to 12 months, we started being able to send out very simple emails, like no sales, no nothing, just saying like, hey, new designs are launched. And those emails would crush, like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in sales per email send, just from us saying like, hey, we added new products. If we had a terrible brand, aka terrible experience, nobody wanted anything to do with us, we could have sent those same emails and heard crickets. So that's like really where I guess like within the first 1 to 2 years where you can really get a lot of value out of the brand idea is from that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a big one as well. I mean, the whole customer service side of things, that's a whole podcast in itself. But one thing we've started doing, because it's a little bit harder for us here in the UK because we sell in the US. And one thing I started doing, which has had a really good effect, is, well, I used to, when someone wanted to change the size of a t-shirt or get a refund, I would say, no problem, you can send it back. And then I have like a US address, a forwarding address. So they send it to that address. I should probably just give them your address. Whatever, they send it to the US address, and then it goes to me. I'm going to give them your address. Hope that's okay. And it goes to me, right? But the thing is, that costs us a fortune. That costs us like $40 to accept a return.
Yeah, just tell them to keep it.
Yeah, so we've changed it now, and I don't tell them to keep it because I sometimes that can cheapen it. So what I actually say is this. I say, if they say they don't want it, I'm like, okay, fine. If they say they want to change the size, it's a little bit hard to be like, just keep the large. I'll send you an XL as well. They're like, I don't want the large. It's like, so what I tend to do is I always refund, of course, but I've started saying, which has really worked. I said, look, don't worry about sending it back to us. I know that's time consuming for you and costly, and it's not worth your time. So instead, just donate it to your nearest charity. We love charity at our insert brand name, and we love donating whenever we can. So if it doesn't work for you, I'll send you the right size. Again, no cost to you, of course, and just give that to your local charity shop. No problem. And that way someone can benefit from it. And that's what I say. And the responses I get are like, oh my gosh, that's the nicest thing any company have ever said to me. Wow. I never expected that. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And like, little do they know, I'm saving myself $40 and it makes no difference. And, well, I say 40, I'm saving $30 because I've got to send them a new one. But it's like, it saved us so much time and hassle being in the UK, selling in the US. And it's actually helped the brand a lot because now people are coming back thinking our brand is like, well, I mean, it is quite charitable, I think. But like being like, oh, this is a very charitable brand. Share the brand name. I'm going to tell everyone about your brand, even though I don't like the product. I just love the way I've been treated. So yeah, in customer service, I think is just a core element of a successful print-on-demand business or any business for that matter. But on that note, this was really, really, really insightful. I hope everyone really valued this quick dive into marketing your Shopify store. Of course, we go into a lot more detail in the hub, and Chris's YouTube channel has a ton of content on it. I don't talk as much about marketing on my YouTube channel, a little bit, but not much. But yeah, I hope this video helped, and we'll see you in the next one where, well, I'll tell you what, at the moment, the next one's going to be about brand, but let me know in the comments down below what topic you would like us to talk about, and we will talk about it, potentially. No promises, but we'll try. Anyway, thank you so much, Chris, for being here. Really, really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. See you, everybody.